Welcome to the Eli Show. Welcome your host, Eli Tanner. Well, welcome in. It's been one of the craziest weeks for me especially, but for many across the world and in this country. Biggest football fans loving Sunday, biggest world sports fans loving these next couple of weeks. And I tell you what, nothing's better, but it's not the best. You know, if ever I've said this before, ranks one of the lowest in my favorite months of the year, especially when it comes to sports, but not the Super Bowl. A little bit of a letdown in my opinion. We'll get to that later. The Olympics, it's been crazy, and nothing, nothing's better.
Then watching your own country win 2 gold, 2 silver, and I think maybe 3 bronze. I don't know the exact numbers because well I'm not awake when it happens. But I'll tell you what, US on top. We're actually not, but just love to see your country and love to support the country, but country divided on Sunday. Patriots Seahawks, and a game that I said before it's going to be defensive, and it was defensive. It was one of those games where like I care more about the commercials than what's going on in the defensive standstill. There was a point where the Patriots literally punted what 6 times. I mean, it was a lot of times in a row. Don't know the exact number, but too many to count for a Super Bowl. You want to see flash. You want to see Patty Mahomes throw 6 touchdowns, not the kicker have a record 5 field goals. No one cares when the field goal kicker gets more points than your running back. And it wasn't the prettiest game. Seahawks got it done though, and they got they got a little bit of a payback from when Tom Brady and then Russell Wilson sold the game, and sold the franchise. But they got their gate back in an interesting score, 27 points for the winning team. Yeah, whoever was putting the low, I believe it sticked with the under on that one. Don't know exactly, but it definitely interesting game. And the MVP on the defensive side, you don't see it very often in today's age. Was it a game the fans wanted to see? No. Was it a game the franchise wanted to see? A little bit. A little bit, two defensive teams all year round. And that poses the question, what's more valuable, the offense or the defense or special teams? And, in today's age, we we play it soft. We play it soft on quarterbacks, wide receivers, defensive players. And I've never really played organized football before, but I think we're playing it soft, a little bit too soft. That wasn't really the game, but there wasn't a lot of flags. They don't let sorry, they let the boys play, but it was definitely a interesting game when it came down to the moment. And yeah, just like the halftime show, which I watched but was confused the whole time because I really didn't understand one thing that was said, you know? And I heard someone say this. They said it's more about, the actual performance than the songs. And the songs are what's supposed to hit the heart, but I'm not I don't speak Spanish. I didn't really get it. I didn't get like the whole wedding part or any of it. It's a cool story, I meant like the actual wedding that they actually got married on a football field in the Super Bowl. I tell you, that was crazy. Millions of people, hundreds of millions of people were invited to that wedding. But yeah, it was interesting. And I was thinking, what is going to be the next Super Bowl halftime show? And I'm telling you, I know people saying it, but Taylor Swift probably going to be up there. I don't think she's going to say yes, but I think she's going to get definitely invited. And I definitely think we got to get country in there. Chris Stapleton, my good friend Jelly Roll. He's not about the performance. He's about the songs. Hits the heart. Says some tough stuff at the Grammys, but it's true. It's true. And yeah, I definitely think we should get some country, more old school. Even though I'm a middle schooler, I definitely think we need to get more country than going across the world to get songs that half the people listening don't even know. But yeah, Last Friday, I got ear surgery, and I really can't hear out of that ear. But in the future, it's definitely gonna, change my, sorry, change my impact, and yeah, it's going to play a big role. Can't do anything physical for 4 weeks, but I'm telling you what, I've been talking about this for a while. My book's about to be published. I mean, kind of. We got a cover now. We just need to, finish the cover, put all the pieces of the book together, and do it on Amazon KDP. Maybe in the next few weeks you could buy it on Amazon. Talk about that next week on the pod. But yeah, it's going to be exciting next couple of weeks, and just in a few weeks, March Madness begins. This is the time where I think it's the slowest in sports, but you look forward. It's the most exciting part. March, April, May, and then you get through the summer months. Like I said, the calendar year of sports makes a little bit of no sense. Makes a little bit of like, wait, what? Why is March the most exciting? If you lived in Europe, you wouldn't say March is the most exciting month, the most thrilling month to watch college basketball. And it is. And there's so much exciting to go. And, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. But let's move on to internationally a little bit and move in Italy, where my parents actually went last spring, the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. And I've said this before in watching, and like, I don't know any of these people. I know there's this good guy that does skating for US. Know that one old lady. Don't go at me in the comment section for this, but you're she's in her 40s, I think, and had like torn something in her knee already, and just goes crazy. And yeah, she's in the hospital getting surgeries on her leg because she broke something in her leg and got airlifted off the course. And you watch the video, and this is just me. I'm not a good skier, but she literally hooks her arm around the thing and just goes flying. And you act like that's not gonna break your leg. Yeah, it does. And yeah, you're gonna have a few surgeries for that. And no, it's not completely your fault, but should you been out there in the Winter Olympics? But a lot of, it's the time difference is 6 hours, which, makes a big impact on your day. If you're trying to watch the women's beat our sworn enemy, Canada, well, you can if you want to spend a few hours of your day, sometimes in the early morning, sometimes in the afternoon, depending on how late the game goes. Hockey's usually more the mid morning afternoon type, but we beat Canada, and I think we have a dynasty going for women's hockey. And I tell you the difference between men's and women's hockey. Men are much more aggressive, they want to get after it, and they're a little bit more me, fight, 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 and that's why I like to watch it. Women's, they pass the ball more, they're more, they more of a team. And hockey is traditionally not really a team sport. Yes, it plays a big impact your team, but you have one star player. You had that one goalie, and without the goalie, game's over. Without a good goalie, you're most likely losing. Without a good shooter, you're most likely losing. But the Olympic team, they did great. The passing was on point, And if you don't get a chance to watch it, you should watch it. It was great to watch, support America. And I just saw a thing today about one of the players has three brothers. She grew up in the North. I'm playing with them, and it was crazy. If you've seen them, they dress out, they dress up, for the games. It's amazing. Snoop Dogg up there. Me and Snoop Dogg, we tight, right? Nah, nah. But yeah, it's great. Sports. I've said this before and said this a lot. Interesting at this time. I have my Lakers jersey on, and last time got a little bit of a hard time for saying 55 for Luca. No, I'm wrong. I know this 23 in this jersey 23. Sometimes he changes his up, but the Lakers NBA. Yeah, I was watching and I was listening to the herd. I might have already said this one, but I was listening to the herd, and he said I went to a game and it looked like the first quarter they were practicing. They walked down the court, and you go up with NBC. The All Star game is on a Saturday and Sunday, I do believe. U.S. versus International. We'll talk about that a little later, but The NBA is at a point where it's like golf, you know? It's like the Masters. They literally walk around and it's a little slow to watch, you know? The content is it's exciting. It's a little slow to watch. You have to pick a team and you have to stick with the team. And like my good friend Spotter, he loves for some reason the Pacers. 15th in leave 15th in the East. They haven't been great this year. They've most of the players are Halliburton. He's out for a while until next year, and you have this point in which you have to find a team and you have to stick with the team even if they're losing. And I'm not a huge Lakers fan. I'm not a huge LeBron fan. I'm not a huge Luca fan. I watch it often, but for me, in my perspective, it's not the greatest just to sit there on Saturday night when you have football. Football's gone. When you start to see baseball, it's like commercial, and you switch back and forth, but both not exciting. When the playoff comes, a lot more exciting. You get that energy, even if you're not a fan, and that's why basketball, in a way, is brings more to the table with the playoffs. Where football, it's usually exciting all year. I mean, all season, unless it's a defensive game where it's like 14-0 at halftime, which is boring. But let's get to the U.S. versus international All-Star game. Great idea. Much better than the four teams tournament style last year. Didn't like it. I mean, TNT and TBS, whatever it all is, never really went with them. But NBC's pushing out in the sports world, and I think they're doing a great job with production. Commercials, that was another great thing. But I'll say what I think it's a good idea. I don't know if it's going to work because U.S. has stars, international has players, right? They have Jokic, not really a star, not really one of those highlights people, unless you want to see him just throwing it over his head or doing one of those behind the back passes or lazily like a sloth slam dunking it. But like Luca, they're more about when they go home, they don't go to parties, they go watch horse races. They go see their family, and they have more of a heart. Where U.S. players are like in the party. LeBron James, probably still is a yacht partying in the summertime, and all these KD, and they have shoe companies and all this, and Shaq, having this life in the U.S. where international in Europe, they go home and see their old friends and family. They're more that small town feeling when U.S. is New York. But I'll tell you what, I'm looking at, you look at it, international might win this one. International, in the Olympics, U.S. did win. But if you put these star players, you put Luca in there, you put Victor Wembanyama, which is an amazing, outstanding player, but not one of those, literally, I forget what you call it, but part of not a Cole, I forget what you call it, wasn't he shaved and did all that stuff? You will never see LeBron James sitting crisscross applesauce, meditating. Nah, you don't see that because that's not what Americans are about. The American dream, not the European dream. But I think it's going to be different. The effort's probably not going to be there, but it's going to be a good raw game, and it's going to be one of those good games. But now let's get to probably my favorite part of the Super Bowl, the commercials. The commercials, they weren't bad. I mean, compared to last year, they weren't bad. I liked a lot of them. A lot of AI ones, a lot of them. Like Alexa did one, I think. GPT did one, I think. Gemini did one, I think. I don't know all of them, but I liked the horse and the eagle Budweiser. And I'm not that old, but a lot of good ones. The Duncan had a good one when the all brought in Chicago all the sitcoms back in the 90s. And there was one where I forgot what it was, but there was this girl lost her puppy and someone found it. One of those heartfelt ones you want to cry on your couch and sit there, and then you watch the game and it's just boring. But it's the Super Bowl, one of the most watched Super Bowls. Little division on the halftime show. I didn't understand it. I still watched it. Wasn't totally bad. Wouldn't put it on my top 5. Wouldn't put it on my least 5. Well, that's the Eli Show. Thanks for watching. I'm Eli Tanner. See you next week.